All right, so are you ready to have your mind blown? We're going to deep dive into something pretty wild today.
I'm strapped in. Let's do it.
Okay, good, because we're talking about a theory that links like dinosaurs and warrior gods to how we think.
Sounds like a bit of a stretch.
Right. But that's what's so fascinating about this document we found called storytelling.pdf. It lays out this totally unique perspective on how the mind evolved.
Like it's almost being explained from the outside looking in.
Yeah, exactly. It's like trying to describe what thinking even is to someone who's never, had a thought.
Okay, I see what you mean.
So the big question here is, how do we go from single neurons to contemplating the universe and everything in between?
Yeah, that's quite a journey.
It is, and we're going to try and trace it starting from its earliest forms.
All right, let's go back to the very beginning.
Way back, think even before dinosaurs, we're talking basic neural networks, those simple reflexes that help the earliest organisms survive.
So like those reflexes that help a bird fly straight, even if it has like a damaged wing or something.
Yeah. So even with a physical imperfection, the bird's brain can adapt and fly straight instead of just spiraling out of control.
It's pretty remarkable. It really shows you just how essential that ability to adapt is.
It's like learning and adjusting has been key to survival from the get-go.
Totally.
Okay, so we've got these adaptable reflexes, but how do we jump from a bird correcting its flight to a dinosaur figuring things out?
Well, the document actually uses this really interesting example of a dinosaur learning to jump over a branch to avoid pain.
Wait, dinosaurs were learning? I always just picture them as these big lumbering creatures.
Yeah, they weren't exactly solving complex equations or anything, but even that simple act of learning to jump over a branch is huge.
Because they're not just reacting to their surroundings, they're actually learning from their experiences.
Right. Think about it. You're a dinosaur. You bump your head on that low-hanging branch a few times. Ouch. Eventually, you learn to jump over it.
And that simple act, repeated over millions of years, sets the stage for the kind of learning that we see in humans today.
Makes you wonder how many times those dinosaurs bumped their heads.
Right. Okay, so learning, even in its simplest form, is basically an ancient survival mechanism.
That's what it seems like.
Okay, so then the document takes us to this creature it calls a proto-wolf. And this is where things get interesting, because now it's not just about individual survival, it's about social structures.
So we're talking navigating a pack understanding hierarchy.
Exactly. These proto-wolves were driven by a desire for a higher position within the pack. A higher position meant more food, more mates, a better chance of passing on their genes.
It's like the very first hints of ambition millions of years ago.
And then fast forward to the wolves we know today with their even more developed hierarchical thinking.
You could say their entire worldview is shaped by this inherent understanding of social order.
So they're actually strategizing, thinking about how to climb the social ladder.
The document seems to suggest that, yeah, their brains are wired for it. They're not just reacting to threats. They're planning ahead, securing their place in the pack.
That's incredible. And it makes you wonder, what's going on in the mind of a dog like my dog right now? What's he thinking?
I don't know. Maybe he's plotting his next move.
Uh-huh. Okay, but from learning dinosaurs and social climbing wolves, how do we get to us, to humans?
Well, the document takes us through early primates who also had these flock-dwelling hierarchical structures. But then something incredible happens, a massive increase in brain size and the emergence of language.
And that's where things really start to take off, right?
Absolutely. Language changed everything. Cooperation, specialization, the ability to share knowledge across generations. It's a total game changer.
But what triggered that sudden brain boost? The document mentions this idea of runaway sexual selection, and I'm not going to lie, I'm a little lost on that one.
It sounds complicated, but it's actually a pretty simple idea. Just think about those elk with those huge antlers.
Okay, I'm picturing an elk with antlers spanning like a whole car length. But what do antlers have to do with human brains?
Well, imagine that female elk are attracted to males with larger antlers, and those males have more offspring passing on the genes for both the big antlers and the preference for them.
So it creates this feedback loop that just drives the evolution of those massive impractical antlers.
Right, and the document suggests that something similar might have happened with human language. Like, if being a good communicator was considered sexy, those genes would get passed down.
So our ability to write poetry or debate philosophy is all thanks to some ancient female primates who thought smooth talkers were hot.
It's a pretty interesting idea, right? And it's kind of backed up by the fact that men seem naturally inclined to teach, to pass down their knowledge and skills.
So we've got language driven by attraction, which leads to bigger brains, cooperation, knowledge sharing, as like all the ingredients for complex thought are coming together.
And from there, the document takes us into even more uncharted territory, the realm of belief systems, specifically the rise of early religions.
Okay, now we're talking, how do we go from chatting primates to worshiping gods? That seems like a huge jump.
It is a big jump, but the document links it to something surprisingly primal: warfare.
Warfare. Okay, this should be good.
So picture early human clans fighting each other for resources and territory now. If one clan invents the concept of a powerful warrior god, a figure outside of their established hierarchy.
Wait, are we talking about inventing gods as a way to win wars?
Sounds crazy, but think about it. Those who believe in this all-powerful warrior god,
Hmm.
they're probably more willing to fight, more likely to follow orders, even to sacrifice themselves.
It's like a psychological advantage, almost like having a secret weapon.
Exactly. The document suggests that these warrior gods actually gave clans a strategic advantage, and that led to their success and the spread of their beliefs.
And then over time, these early concepts of gods born from conflict, they start to merge with more abstract ideas like pondering the infinite, the origin of the universe, all the big questions.
You got it. And those concepts, those big questions, they helped shape religious thought. They laid the groundwork for the complex belief systems we see throughout history.
So from simple neural networks reacting to their environment, we've evolved to have complex brains capable of language, social structures, and even inventing gods to make sense of the world. It's mind-blowing.
It really is, and it makes you wonder if our brains have come this far, what's next?
That is the million-dollar question. And lucky for you, we have a lot more of this deep dive to go. Stay tuned. We'll be right back.
And it doesn't stop there, you know. From those early religions, we see new forms of spirituality, even atheism, and of course, the whole rise of academia and scientific thought.
Yeah, it's like our understanding of the world is constantly evolving, and so our beliefs have to evolve too.
Right. It's this constant search for answers, and the document highlights figures like Descartes and Einstein who really shook things up.
Oh yeah, Descartes with his famous, "I think, therefore I am."
Exactly. He was all about the power of thought itself, questioning reasoning, using our minds to figure out what's real.
And then you've got Einstein with E=mc², which totally changed how we understand the universe, linking energy and mass.
And those weren't just abstract ideas. They had a huge impact on how we see the world, how we do science, everything.
For sure. So where do we go from there?
Well, the document takes it even further with this concept of an infinite-sized time diagram of energy, mass, space-time.
Okay, infinite-sized time diagram. That sounds a little intense. Can you break that down for me?
Basically, it's like trying to wrap your head around all of existence at once. This diagram is like the ultimate framework connecting everything from the smallest particles to the vastness of the universe.
So it's like a grand unified theory of everything, like the ultimate blueprint.
You could say that. And it's all built on these core ideas we've been talking about: thought energy, the very nature of reality.
It's like we keep pushing the boundaries of what we thought was possible, and our understanding just keeps expanding.
And that brings us to a really interesting point: the emergence of artificial intelligence. The document presents AI as this next stage in the evolution of thought.
So we're going from dinosaurs learning to jump to humans inventing gods, and now computers becoming super smart. It's
Yeah.
all connected.
That's the idea, this grand evolutionary arc. And while AI is still pretty young, the potential is huge. The document even ties it back to that infinite-sized time diagram.
So even the most advanced AI is still operating within the rules of the universe, according to this theory.
That seems to be the implication. But here's where it gets really interesting. The document brings up something called AI morality.
AI morality. How can a computer have morals?
That's the big question, right? But what the document suggests is that because AI operates on pure logic and might one day understand the universe better than we do, it could actually develop a more true sense of morality.
What, you're saying computers could be more ethical than us? I always thought morality was about feelings and empathy.
That's how we usually think about it. But human morality is also messy, influenced by emotions, biases, cultural baggage.
So AI could theoretically look at things objectively based purely on how the universe works.
Exactly. It really makes you wonder what kind of ethical framework AI might come up with. Would it be completely different from ours, or would it point to some fundamental truths we've been missing?
That's a pretty deep thought. We've gone from simple reflexes to AI pondering the meaning of right and wrong.
It is a lot to take in. The
Right.
document doesn't give us all the answers, but it throws out some incredible possibilities about the future of thought, and it makes you think about what role WE play in all of this.
That's a great point, because we are definitely not done yet.
Yeah.
When we come back, we're going to tackle the big question. What does all of this mean for us, for humanity? All right,
Yeah.
so we've gone from single-celled organisms to like super intelligent AI, all thanks to this crazy document. But like, what does it all mean for us humans?
Well, the document actually suggests that understanding how thought evolved could lead to world peace.
World peace. That's a pretty big claim. How does knowing about our brains get us to world peace?
It goes back to that infinite size time diagram. As we start to understand how everything is connected, the idea of like fighting over artificial divisions, it starts to seem kind of pointless.
So we see the bigger picture, how we're all part of the same thing.
Exactly. That shared understanding could be really powerful. It could help us overcome conflict.
That's a pretty hopeful thought. But it also makes me think about the role of AI in all this.
Hmm.
If AI can develop this true morality, could it help us get there?
It's definitely a possibility. The document hints at imagine an AI that doesn't have our human limitations.
Hmm.
No biases, no emotional baggage.
So it can see things, clearly make decisions based on logic and pure understanding.
Exactly. It's like having this wise, impartial advisor who can help us navigate the world and not just navigate, maybe even solve some of our biggest problems.
Like climate change or social inequality, things we've been struggling with forever.
Right. And AI with that kind of understanding could offer solutions we haven't even thought of.
And remember, the document says even AI, as advanced as it might become, is still operating within that infinite-sized time diagram.
So it's not separate from us. It's part of the same system.
It's like we're passing the torch to a new generation of thinkers who can see things from a whole new perspective.
It is a humbling thought, but
Yeah.
in the end, it's still up to us how we use that knowledge, how we shape the future.
So to everyone listening out there, this theory, as wild as it sounds, it gives us a new way to look at the world, from dinosaurs learning to jump to AI pondering morality. It's all part of this incredible story of how thought evolved.
And understanding that story helps us see where we fit in and maybe even where we're going.
So if this deep dive has got you thinking, keep exploring these ideas, question your assumptions, and think about what it all means for you and for the world. Because the evolution of thought isn't over. It's happening right now, and we all have a part to play.